Hey, what's happening, Herpers? I'm Joe, and in this week's video, I'm going to be giving you a kind of all-in-one-place update on how Cleo's nose is doing. If you keep up with the shorts on this channel, you know that my biggest snake, Cleo, my red-tailed boa constrictor, developed a little bit of stuck shed on her nose, and over the course of a few shorts, I gave her a couple baths. I tried to loosen it up and try to get it off for her, and it did eventually come off, and it left a little bit of a crater under the spot where the stuck shed was. So in today's video, I just want to show you how she is doing, because she has shed her skin again. I'm also going to show you how I preserved my shed skins. I'm not sure exactly what to do with them yet, so if you have any suggestions for me, please let me know down in the comments. I'm eager to read them because I've got a whole bucket of snake shed, and there's even some tegu shed in there, and I don't know, I want to start doing something with it. So if you've got any ideas for me, let me know down in the comments. But with that, I'm going to start today's video off with the series of shorts that kind of documented what Cleo has been going through. And with that, if you're interested in seeing how Cleo's nose has been healing, or seeing how I get these sheds and what the shed skin looks like from a 7-foot boa constrictor, then make sure to hit the like button and come along.
Her entire shed came off in one piece, except for her nose. Right on the tip of Cleo's nose, you can see a patch of stuck shed skin, and I kind of thought this was going to become a problem. When Cleo was in the midst of getting ready to shed, when her eyes were fully in blue and her skin was very gray, she was rubbing on her enclosure trying to get out. And during that time, snake's skin is very sensitive. That's one of the reasons they tell you that you shouldn't help a snake shed its skin, because if you put too much pressure on it, or if you start to peel it off prematurely, it can damage the scales that are forming underneath the skin, and it can lead to issues like this, which in Cleo's case turned into her nose not shedding properly. But that's alright, because the rest of her shed came out perfect, and now I'm giving her a bath to try to help her with this last bit of stuck shed. Speaking of which, there's the rest of her shed. It kind of all clumped up like a sock. But now let's see if I can get that piece of shed off of her, and nope, it is still stuck. If you saw yesterday's video, you already know what's going on and how this happened, but I'm back today trying to help Cleo get the stuck shed skin off of her nose. I wasn't able to get it off just using my fingers in yesterday's video, but she has been soaking longer, and now I'm going to try using some metal tweezers to get it off of her. The shed skin seemed tighter on the front of her nose, so I decided to come around from the back side instead, and that looks a lot looser, so I'm going to try just slowly peeling it up. I'm not restraining her head, that way if I start doing something that hurts her or bothers her, she's able to pull away and kind of let me know, since reptiles can't whimper or make other sounds that dogs or cats would to let you know that they're upset. I've got to just give her that freedom of movement, even if it means maybe risking a bite. Oh, and I am good and under that stuck shed, but it feels just a little too tight, and I see some what looks like kind of fresh looking skin under it, so I'm going to actually leave it alone and give this another day or two before trying to remove it for Cleo again. I'm sorry, Cleo, you're being so good and patient, but this is going to take another day. I wish I was filming. I was just sliding the blue board to be a plate under her, and she made a little mini strike at it, which means she is definitely hungry today, and that's all right, because I've got her rat here and ready to go. If you don't like seeing snakes eat, this is going to be the time to look away. Nicely done, Cleo. Ooh. And while your mouth is busy, can I get that piece of stuck shed yet? I'm going, oh, there we go. Finally got it. If you saw my bath video the other day, you saw me being really gentle. I knew that she had some nose rub, and I predicted there might be a little bit of a crater there. But because of her nose rubbing while she was getting ready to shed, it stopped the scales under her skin from properly forming. It left that piece of what looked like stuck shed that just didn't come off because she was pressing into it while those scales were tender and she was in that pre-shed phase. So it doesn't look super pretty right now, but the good news is that is what a healing snake wound looks like. Luckily this one's pretty small and it looks like it's been healing great so far, so I'm not anticipating too much of a healing curve for Cleo here, and with any luck her nose should be looking much better within 1 to 2 sheds. Well, it has happened. It is a few weeks later, and Cleo just shed her skin. I just noticed her looking extra beautiful, and then I saw it clumped up inside of her tree in that back corner, so I'm just kind of giving her some pets, letting her know that I'm not here to feed her, so I am not food. But I'm also trying to go kind of slow with this because I'm invading her space, and I don't want to scare her too much. But here we go. Let's see if I can get that shed out of there without getting bit. And there it is all crumpled up, but I do think that is the entire shed all in one piece. What do you think, Cleo? Did you get it all in one piece? Either way, your nose is looking a lot better. Alright, let's go check out the shed. So here I've got the shed submerged in just a little bit of water in my sink. No need to plug the drain because all the crap attached to the shed has already done that for me. Reptile life hacks. But the reason I have it in water is just to kind of rehydrate it and make it easier to unroll without ripping the shed. And yes, it's a little gross. This doesn't smell the best. A lot of people in the comments of some of my videos like to comment that my reptile room can't smell good. And truthfully, it usually smells fine. But when you start rehydrating a dried out shed, there's usually some nasty smells that come along with that. But luckily, once the shed has been disinfected and has had some time to dry out again, usually that smell will completely go away. And thankfully, I am almost done unraveling the entire shed. There's the entire bottom jaw, kind of stretched out like a drum for you there. And now to unroll the top of her head. It's a little tight and I don't want to rip it in the last mile here, so I'm going to get that wet again, try to just loosen it up a little bit more. And let's see. There we go. That is Cleo's whole head. It's a little hard to make out, but both her eye caps are there, which means that this is a perfect shed. No wonder her nose looks so good. And now I think she deserves a rat for bouncing back from this so well. And once she strikes and grabs a hold of her prey, it should give me a chance to get some better close-up shots of her nose without her moving so much. Well, here goes the test for how she's really feeling. She might be looking better, but Cleo is always hungry, so if she doesn't eat, I'll know something's wrong. If she eats, it doesn't necessarily mean things are better because, like I said, she always eats, but it'll be a good sign that between her nose looking so good and her eating, that she's on the right track.
Hey Cleo, I'm just gonna scoop you up, don't mind me. Thank you.
And I messed up. You probably saw it, but I got caught up in the moment and kind of just didn't want rat juices on my carpet. Well, I didn't want more rat juices on my carpet, and so I moved Cleo back inside of her enclosure when I should have gotten a close-up of her nose before she went in the enclosure, because once I put her inside of the enclosure, she was kind of behind the lip, and then she started kind of coiling around her own nose in a way that made it hard to see. But luckily, even though I forgot to get what would have been the easier shot of her nose, she still came back around to give us a good view of her nose to assure us that it is healing well. Now, as Cleo finishes her meal, let's check back in on her shed since it has had a chance to dry out. So here's where I've been leaving a bunch of my snake sheds to dry. We've got more than just Cleo's here, but here is Cleo's most recent shed, and her mouth kind of dried out in a funny way. You can almost see the shape of her top jaw and bottom jaw there, but let's get this shed and a couple of these other sheds laid out so I can take you through the process I used to at least get them into some better condition. And then hopefully it'll give one of you guys an idea for what I should start doing with this shed. So I had just a little bit of chlorhexidine left, so I went ahead and filled the bottle up with water that I'm going to spray these sheds down with just to loosen them up and make it a little easier for me to uncrinkle them and get them fully unfolded before I get to cutting them. There was just a little bit of chlorhex left in the bottle, so I'm hoping it's not going to be enough blue in there to actually affect the color of the sheds, but I'm hoping that little bit of chlorhexidine residue in the bottle might help kill any of the lingering smell that sheds can sometimes have. Alright, so there are Cleo's two most recent sheds all laid out and stretched out the best I can. And now I'm going to very carefully try to cut down the center of the ventral scales. Those are the belly scales on the snake skin. And that is because I want to unfold these sheds, because right now we are looking at them inside out. As the snake sheds, the snake skin rolls off of them and comes off inside out, kind of like rolling off a tube sock. And the thing about that is it's the outside of the snake skin that looks real pretty, so usually you can see more of their pattern on the inside. So by the time I fully cut through the shed, I'll be able to open it up, and you should be able to see even more of Cleo's pattern imprinted on these scales. And there was the last cut. Perfect. So I made it all the way through the ventral scales on Cleo, right up through her chin. It's still a little crinkled up, so I'm going to spray both of these sheds and cut the other one. That way we can do a side-by-side comparison of the inside of the shed versus the outside of the shed. And in the meantime, let's check back in on how Cleo is doing with this week's meal. And that's what I love to see. Cleo isn't missing a beat. She has almost finished her entire rat. And let's just see if she gives us another good view of her nose before going back and doing a side-by-side comparison of Cleo's last two sheds. Oh, is she gonna drink, or is her jaw just a little loose from that rat? Doesn't look like she's gonna drink today, but that's okay. She is coming back around enough for us to see her nose a little bit again, and it looks like she is doing great, and this feeding is just further confirmation of that. Now here I am looking through Cleo's bottom jaw before making the last cut and getting both sheds fully laid out. And now here is the side-by-side. So we're looking at the inside of both of these shed skins. You can see the newer one that she just shed is a little bit brighter. I don't know if that has to do with this being a fresher skin or the fact that she didn't have it on her body as long as this skin that was with her all winter long. Now here's what the outside of that shed skin looks like. Now we're looking at the side-by-side of Cleo's skin, the exterior of her skin on the one to the left closest to us, and the interior of her skin on the right. Now, there's only about a month between these two sheds, and normally a boa constrictor of Cleo's age wouldn't shed that fast, so I'm pretty sure the reason she shed so soon right after finishing her last shed was to start the healing process on her nose. This is common for reptiles when they take damage to their scales. Usually for a little while after, they'll be shedding more frequently while those scales heal, but it is a good sign that those scales are at least starting the process of healing. But anyway, I've got 2 Cleo sheds, 2 Bojangle sheds, 2 Lucy the Hunter and Milksnake sheds, and 1 Spot the Western Diamondback shed. So let me know down in the comments what you think I should do with them all.
And that's going to do it for this week's video. You made it all the way to the end, so I hope that means you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like so I know to make more videos like this in the future. And with that, thank you to all the patrons that keep this channel possible, starting with my head herpers, Allie Ward, Amanda Lynn, Deborah Torgerson, Jane Cabingirl, JCH, Lindsay Justice, Loki and Thor, Sierra Sicard, and Tiffany H. Thank you so much for supporting this channel at the highest tier level every month, and thank you very much to the patrons of the other tier levels whose names are scrolling up your screen now. And with that, that's everything I had for this week's video. Thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope none of you are in a rap battle with Kendrick Lamar, but most of all, I hope that you just keep herping.